There is a moment that arrives quietly, without announcement, without ceremony. It does not come in a crisis. It does not arrive when things are falling apart. It arrives, strangely, in an ordinary moment, standing in a kitchen at the end of a long day, or sitting in a car before you go inside, or waking before the alarm and staring at the ceiling in the dark. And the thought surfaces, not as accusation, but as simple recognition. Every version of strength you have shown today was for someone else. You were calm when calm was needed. You were steady when steadiness was needed. You absorbed what others could not carry and made it look manageable. You performed competence, composure, endurance, and you performed it well. No one watching would have noticed the performance. That is how good you have become at it. And now in the silence, you ask the question that has no comfortable answer. Who was that for? Not who needed it. That part you know. The question underneath is harder. It is the question of whether the person performing all of that strength, the reliable one, the composed one, the one who holds things together, is actually you, or whether it is a shape you have learned to occupy so completely that you no longer know where the shape ends and you begin. This is not a crisis of weakness. This is the specific exhaustion of invisible emotional labor. And the Stoics, with their extraordinary precision about the interior life, had a great deal to say about it. The first teaching, what is not examined is not owned. Epictetus was born into slavery. He had no control over his circumstances, his body, his location, his labor, or his social standing. Everything external had been stripped away before he ever had the chance to choose it. And from within that condition, he arrived at a philosophical insight that cuts directly to the center of this question. The only thing that is truly yours is your capacity to examine what is happening inside you. He did not say the only thing that is yours is your strength. He said the only thing that is yours is your faculty of choice, your ability to look clearly at your own inner life and decide what you will do with what you find there. The person who performs strength without examining it does not own their strength. They are being used by a habit. There is a profound difference between choosing to be strong in a given moment, because the moment requires it, because the people around you need it, because it is the right thing to give, and operating on automatic, dispensing composure and steadiness and endurance without ever checking whether the person producing all of it is still present and intact. Epictetus taught that the unexamined interior is the one place where freedom is consistently surrendered. You can lose everything external and remain free if your inner life is your own. You can appear to have everything and be entirely unfree if you have never looked honestly at what is actually moving inside you. The first thread back to yourself is the willingness to look. Not to fix, not to perform better, simply to see what is there. The second teaching, labor that is invisible does not mean labor that is free. Musonius Rufus was a Roman Stoic philosopher who understood with unusual clarity that becoming a person of genuine character is not a passive achievement. It is active work. It requires effort, attention, and honest self-reckoning. He taught philosophy not as a set of positions to be argued, but as a practical discipline, something you do every day with your actual choices, in actual conditions. What he observed, and what is still precisely true, is that the hardest labor is often the labor that leaves no visible record. The labor of holding your composure when everything in you wants to react. The labor of staying emotionally present for people who are struggling when you are also struggling and cannot say so. The labor of maintaining steadiness as a gift to others while quietly paying its full price yourself. This labor is real. It changes the body. It changes the quality of sleep. It changes the way you feel at the end of a day versus the beginning. And because it produces no visible product, because the result of all that invisible effort is simply that nothing broke, that no one was alarmed, that the situation remained manageable, it tends not to be counted. Not by others, and often not by yourself. Musonius understood that honest self-accounting is not self-pity. It is accurate perception. A person who does not account for the real cost of the labor they are performing will eventually find that the account is settled without their participation, in exhaustion, in distance, in a slow erosion of the inner life that was never properly tended. The second thread back to yourself is honest accounting. What am I actually carrying, and what is it actually costing me? The third teaching: you cannot return to a self you have never visited. There is a particular danger in becoming very good at a role. The better you become at it, the more the role confirms your value in the eyes of others, and the more its demands expand to fill the space available. The reliable person becomes more relied upon. The strong person is brought more weight to carry. The one who holds things together is given more things to hold. This is not ingratitude on the part of the people around you. It is simply the logic of how load distributes toward whoever has demonstrated they can bear it. But the interior consequence is subtle and cumulative. Over time, the role and the self begin to merge in a way that makes it genuinely difficult to locate the boundary. Who are you when no one needs you to be strong? Who are you when the room is empty and nothing is being asked? Epictetus taught that the self is not the role. It is the thing that precedes the role, the thing that existed before anyone had expectations of it, and the thing that will still be present when every role has been set down. But you can only access that deeper self if you have maintained some contact with it along the way, some practice of returning to it, even briefly, even imperfectly. The Stoics were deliberate practitioners of interiority. Marcus kept his journal not as a public record, but as a daily practice of self-contact, a way of returning to his own reasoning, his own values, his own honest perception, beneath the accumulated weight of what was being asked of him each day. Epictetus built his entire teaching around the practice of distinguishing what is yours from what is not. That distinction is not only about external circumstances, it is about the interior. It is about knowing which part of your inner life is genuinely your own, and which part is a response to what others need from you. The third thread, back to yourself, is a practice of return, not a grand reclamation, but a small and regular habit of asking, beneath all that I am carrying for others, what is actually mine? The fourth teaching: strength that cannot rest is not strength, it is performance. There is a quality to genuine inner strength that the Stoics described with the word stability, a quality of being settled in yourself that does not depend on circumstances being favorable or audiences being present. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about this distinction with characteristic directness: the person who is courageous only when being watched, or calm only when the stakes are visible to others, or steady only under public pressure, that person is not demonstrating inner strength. They are responding to social demand. True Stoic strength, the kind that actually sustains a life and the people in it, is not a performance maintained for observers. It is a condition of the interior. And a condition of the interior can be wrested without being abandoned. It does not require that you be always performing it, always displaying it, always producing it on demand for whoever needs it in a given moment. There is a confusion, a very common and very human confusion, between being strong and performing strength. The person who cannot stop performing strength has often lost contact with the thing itself. Because genuine strength knows when to be still. It knows when the moment does not require a display, when the most powerful thing available is to simply set down the performance and be present as yourself, without armor, without the carefully managed exterior. The fourth thread back to yourself is permission. Genuine, stoic, philosophically grounded permission to not be performing right now. Not because strength is unnecessary, because the self behind the strength is what gives the strength its depth and its durability. The fifth teaching: identity is not protected by holding it tightly. It is maintained by tending it honestly. Musonius Rufus taught that the good person is not someone who achieves a fixed state of virtue and then maintains it defensively. They are someone who practices continually, who returns to the work of self-examination, self-correction, and honest engagement with their own interior life, not as an emergency measure when things have gone wrong, but as a daily discipline of self-tending. The identity you are most in danger of losing is not the one that others threaten. It is the one that erodes quietly through neglect, through the accumulation of days in which you were fully present for everyone else and entirely absent from yourself. Not because you are selfish in the wrong direction, but because you have not yet understood that tending your own interior life is not a withdrawal from responsibility. It is the condition under which genuine responsibility is sustainable. You cannot give from an account you have never maintained. You cannot be genuinely present for others from behind a performance that requires all of your energy to sustain. And you cannot return to yourself at some future point when things are calmer, because the self that you postpone returning to is being shaped by the postponement. Every day that passes without honest self-tending is a day in which the shape of who you are drifts slightly further from the center of what you actually value and what you actually are. Epictetus survived the conditions of slavery not by performing strength for observers, but by maintaining contact with the one interior territory that could not be colonized by circumstance. That territory is the same one available to you, not because your circumstances are the same as his, but because the territory itself is a feature of being human and choosing to examine what that means. The tide does not confirm or deny what you carry. The silence of an ordinary evening does not grade your performance, but you are always in contact with yourself, even when you have forgotten the language of that contact. The Stoics believed that the most important work available to a human being is the work of honest self-examination. Not as punishment, not as performance, not as a project to display to others, but as the simple daily discipline of remaining present to your own life. Begin where you are. The examination does not require the right circumstances. It requires only the willingness to stop for a moment, performing strength for everyone who needs it, and to ask honestly, what is here in me when I am not being watched? That question is not weakness. That question is the beginning of everything genuine. If this moved you, comment "The Citadel Holds" below. It is our sign that you carry the philosophy with you. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.